Welcome friends to another r/NuclearRevenge video. If you enjoy hearing these stories of nuclear revenge, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Fred King 1313. If security asks to turn down music, just comply. So let me set the scene. I'm a security officer with Redacted Security Company. I work in a refurbished office building that's been made into a bunch of stores. I've been with this company for almost 8 years, so I have a great professional relationship with the building owner, clients, and all store owners. Now, I'm generally a good guy, and I'm relaxed about the rules as long, 1, as your space doesn't get out of hand, 2, I am needed or called for a complaint. This particular day, I received a complaint of loud music, so I'm following procedures and walking the floors and find the source. As I get to the 3rd floor via stairs, I can already hear the music on the floor. It's the new nail salon. I decide to go to the restroom, and on my way back, I calmly knock on the door of the salon and am greeted by store employee. The conversation went like this. I say, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I've received a noise complaint. I know it's the weekend and not a lot of people are here, but I have to ask you to lower the volume, please." The store employee says, "Oh, okay, no problem. I didn't think it was too loud." I say, "Thank you for your cooperation." She then shuts the door in my face. Rude, but okay. So I continued to the other floors and didn't hear any more music, so I returned to the security desk. About 40 minutes later, store employee comes down up to the desk I'm sitting at, and this is the conversation that follows. They said, "You're a liar." I said, "Excuse me?" They said, "You said you got a noise complaint against me. I just went up all the floors and nobody said they complained about me." I said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, you misunderstood what I said." She cuts me off before I can explain. She said, "Don't try to backtrack now. You're a liar and I'm going to get you fired for harassing me." I called my boss and she's calling building owner. I said, "I'm sorry you feel that way, but I need for you to return to your workstation as you're causing a scene in front of clients. And if not, I'll have no alternative but to walk you out of the building, as the site has a zero tolerance policy for these kinds of events." She says, "I'm so gonna get you fired for this," and storms off to the elevators. About an hour later, I get a conference call from my boss and building owner. My boss said, "Morning, OP. I'm on conference call with building owner, and we received a wild complaint about you misbehaving on site just now. We want to get your side of things before we decide on what to do next." The building owner said, "I agree, as the allegations against you are really out of character, and I have confidence in your performance in representing both of our interests." So I give them the rundown on everything that happened and how I handled it. The building owner said, "That sounds more like you. However, it's now he said, she said, as she claims you forced your way into her workspace and was yelling at the top of your lungs at her to turn the music down, while yelling obscenities and racist remarks at her in front of her clients, and how you threatened her life if you had to come back up there. She says she feels like her life's endangered as long as you're here working so close to her, and her clients said that she was telling the truth." Now I was pissed. Cue my nuclear revenge. As a safety precaution a while back, I bought a body cam that is connected to my cell phone. And guess what? After the conference call was over, I remembered that, turned on my cam, and it had been recording since before I clocked into work. When I checked, I struck gold because I had a recording of all the interactions with store employee. So after reviewing my audio and video footage, mostly to get start and end points of all the interactions I had with store employee, I called my boss back. I said, "Hey boss, I forgot about my body cam and how I could prove what I was saying." My boss said, "Really? Great, send me an email and a copy of the footage for me to review." I said, "Okay, sir. And do I have permission to contact building owner and let her know?" My boss said, "If you want to, I'll be calling her after reviewing the footage too." So I called building owner and told her about my body cam and how I could prove my innocence. I could literally hear her perking up at this. She responds, "Perfect. Send it to me ASAP. My email address is so-and-so. And time the notations I should look at." Fast forward 2 hours later, who comes wobbling out of the elevators in tears and a sobbing mess with a box with her stuff in it, with her head down doing the waddle of shame as she's being escorted out of the property by police. It's store employee. Later I find out that building owner called the salon owner and was livid that her employee was causing such a scene and had gotten her clients involved with the incident against me, and how that was unacceptable. While building owner didn't have the power to fire employee, building owner made it clear that she was now banned from the building and all of its resources. Reminder, the salon owner that thought store employee called the shots inside the salon, her butt answered to her once she steps out of that salon. And the icing on the cake, building owner renegotiated my contract and I got a $5 raise for my outstanding service. Thank you, building owner. After having heard this story, if you were ever to work in any kind of security job, even if it was just building security, would hearing this story be enough to make you invest in a body camera for that job? Do you think just about every security guard, building security, etc. should have some kind of body camera on? Or is it kind of over the top for building security to be wearing a body cam? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And our final story of the day is by Feral Tax Evader. Buddy, you picked the wrong person to harass. The year was 2014, or maybe 2013, who gives a crap. I was a freshman in high school. On a general basis, it sucked. I mean, it was an American public high school with literally thousands of kids. It's a given that it's gonna blow some major balls. One thing in particular that made it extra sucky though was gym class. Specifically, this one guy in gym class. This dude's name was Jack A. McGee, the A of course being short for butt. As the name would imply, he was a donkey. At first, it was pretty standard high school guy in gym class level of obnoxious jerk. You know the type. Overly loud, unreasonably aggressive during games, bossy, tossing the collective brain cell back and forth between his two equally ape-like buddies. The usual. I don't know when exactly it happened, but he developed a sort of eye for me. After the first couple of weeks or so, he started asking me bizarre questions that I now believe may have been some sort of innuendo, sitting uncomfortably close to me, resting his hand on my gym shoe, general creepy behavior. He once blocked a doorway with his body. This dude was massive, forcing me to literally squeeze my way through and crawl over him. He then tried to grab me and pin me to him once I was almost through, but I'm very good at dodging physical contact whenever possible, and dipped on him before his giant gorilla arm could catch me. I still shudder thinking about it. I cannot emphasize enough how terrible this dude smelled. But the true breaking point came during the peak cruelty of this school-mandated sadism, gym swim. Before anyone asks, let it be known that yes, I did try to tell someone about this. I told my gym teacher first semester really early on that Jack was making me incredibly uncomfortable. The gym teacher waves it off, saying he was just playing around and that it's probably because he likes you. His suggestion was basically to just put up with it and wait it out, because he was sure Jack would lose interest soon anyways. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Second semester rolls around and the 4-week period of gym swim descends upon us like the bloated carcass of a catapulted whale, crushing us beneath its wet, foul-smelling body. 40 some odd adolescents forced into a cold, overly chlorinated pool for 50 plus minutes, adorned in swimsuits determined to crawl up into our butts like Ant-Man himself. It was heck on earth, basically. As I've mentioned in a previous post, I'm autistic, so the echoing sounds, reflected fluorescent lights, pungent odors, slimy floors, and assorted BS made the situation even worse for me. I wasn't officially diagnosed yet, so my complaints were written off as me being whiny, and I was told to shut up and deal with it. So I did. I think I had more meltdowns in that 4-week span than I've had in the past 2 years combined, but whatever. On top of the sensory overload, there was Jack. I think something about being allowed to go shirtless and stare at the nearly bare butts of girls for an entire period emboldened him, because Jack promptly lost whatever semblance of restraint he'd had until then. He made frequent attempts to grab me, trying to hold me against his bare skin, which was disgusting, and I spent most of the class trying to evade him. The swimsuit I was forced to wear fit a little awkwardly around my chest, which he delighted in pointing out to his buddies, staring unabashedly at my chest. He managed to sneak up behind me and snap the strap of my swimsuit, even trying to pull it down off my shoulder, but I jerked away fast enough to prevent that. I'm furious at this point. but I'm like 5'2", maybe, whereas he was easily over 6'5" and probably 300 plus pounds. And I'm not stupid. While all of this was happening, my new gym teacher, they switched every semester, was busy trying to keep a couple of the other guys from drowning each other. She was one adult, forced to watch over 40 rowdy butt kids in a swimming pool. She was a bit preoccupied. The final straw came one Wednesday afternoon. The event that finally pushed me off the edge of rationality I'd been clinging to and sent me plummeting into full-on bloodthirst. There I was, paddling around, minding my own business, when Jack and his two goons managed to corner me. I'm immediately suspicious, hackles raised, as they ask me fairly banal questions about how the pool is today and the like, cracking up the whole time. I give short, terse answers, trying to see if I could maybe slip past them. I spot an opening and bolt for it, but Jack was apparently expecting this. As I swim through the narrow gap between him and one of his friends, he stretches an arm out and actually manages to slip his hand under my suit to grab my chest. I froze for a moment, the delighted giggling of him and his friends echoing in my ears as if from 1,000 miles away. The next thing I knew, I was out of the pool, being held back by the gym teacher, and Jack had a bloody nose. He was shouting angrily at me, calling me a crazy witch as his nose gushed blood into the water. There was a mass confusion among the class. I was told to change quickly and sit in the hallway. Apparently, the gym teacher had heard me screech like a banshee, followed by a number of shouts, and had looked over to see me wrestle out of Jack's grip, jump on his back, and throw him off balance enough to smash his face into the edge of the pool wall. I remembered none of this, but I did find a few chunks of greasy brown hair clenched in my fist that I'd evidently ripped from his scalp when the teacher pulled me off. I washed my hands thoroughly. It was decided that I'd go in early to school tomorrow to have a little talk with the dean. They would have just sent me there straight away, but gym was my last class of the day, and the dean had already left by then for whatever reason, so it had to be postponed a little while. It was pretty heavily implied that I was going to be suspended, quite possibly even expelled for what had happened. I was furious. Not only had Jack made my life a living heck, but his horse poop was now going to be the cause of my expulsion? I wasn't about to go down without a fight, but I realized that I'd have to play this pretty smart if I wanted to weasel out of it. The next morning, I did two things. I put on mascara, and I made a superficial but rather painful incision on my right thigh, high enough so as to be covered by my shorts. Normally I hate wearing makeup because I don't like the way it feels, but I'd worn mascara before and noticed the interesting effect it had on my appearance. Specifically, I already have pretty long, pretty dark eyelashes, so adding mascara draws a lot of attention to my eyes and makes them look huge, like total Bambi eyes. Wide, innocent, naive, harmless. I sat down in front of the dean at 6:40 a.m. I didn't need to fake the fear in my expression, but I made sure to throw in something that could be interpreted as guilt too, bowing my head and twisting my face in dismay. Needless to say, the dean was pretty pissed. "Do you know why you're here, young lady?" he said. "Yes," I said softly. "And you know that what you did is very serious?" "Yes," I said again, making my voice tremble. "Care to explain yourself then?" I began, my voice shaking. "I just wanted him to stop." "Stop what?" the dean prompted, his eyebrows furrowed. "I just wanted him to stop touching me," I blurted. As I said this, I reached my hand under the table where he couldn't see it and dug my finger into the cut on my leg, causing me to lurch forward as if in a sob, my other hand covering my face as my eyes watered from the pain. "Touching you?" the dean asked, his brows now on a collision course for Mars. I spent the next several minutes divulging all the crap that had happened to me that year, digging into my injury for some tears whenever necessary, and by the end of it, the dean looked horrified. He reaffirmed that no, I shouldn't have attacked Jack like that, but they'd have to investigate the matter further. I basically got off with a slap on the wrist, and after multiple testimonies from other girls, Jack got suspended for 2 weeks. I wasn't satisfied. They hadn't been able to expel him due to lack of hard evidence, but I was out for blood. He returned to school 2 weeks later, and I was ready. One of his friends had a little brother in my bio class, a fairly chill dude named Owen, who I'd worked out a deal with. See, Jack had been very vocal about his displeasure with me to his friends, which made its way to Owen, who, for the low price of bailing his dumb butt out in biology, was more than willing to share that information with me. I had a direct pipeline. Anything Jack shared with his friends made its way directly to me via Owen, and as it turns out, this dude didn't keep a whole lot to himself. There was a lot of crap I was tempted to nail him for. For instance, I found out he was selling drugs, mostly Adderall and some occasional weed from his locker, and had been cheating his way through most of his classes. However, I knew how suspicious it would look for me to report something like that so soon. It'd probably just look like I had a grudge, which I did, and was trying to get even, which I was. He slipped up really bad about a week after his return, and that was when I struck. See, he hadn't been subtle about his displeasure with my retaliation, and spent most of gym class sending really ugly looks my way. The gym teacher kept us as far away from each other as possible, but he managed to track me down in a passing period one day and ranted me about how I screwed him over and that I was a lying little witch, yada yada yada, and that he'd make me regret it. Funny, stole the words right out of my mouth. I found out from Owen later that Jack had been bragging to his friends last night about the switchblade he'd stolen from one of those hunting stores downtown and promised he'd show it off to them later that day. I seized the opportunity. I took a few seconds in the bathroom mirror, scratching at the scab on my leg until my eyes were teary enough to really sell the terrified victim look, then bolted down to the dean's office, stuttering and shaking, crying out for help. The front desk lady was understandably startled by the sight of a seemingly panicked freshman girl bolting into the office and called the dean out right away. His face grew serious when he saw me. "Mr. Dean, please help, he's gonna kill me," I cried. "Now slow down," he said. "What happened?" "Jack," I said, resisting the urge to grin maniacally at the hardness that appeared in the dean's eyes. He cornered me in the hall. He called me a witch and said he was gonna make me regret telling on him. He's got a knife." "He what?" the dean barked. Everything moved very quickly after that. The security guards were told to search the kid's locker, while a couple other security officers were called down to get Jack out of his classroom and take him to the office. I was told by the front desk lady, who had heard the whole exchange, to hide with her in the copier room so Jack wouldn't see me. They found the stolen knife in his backpack and the drugs in his locker. That, combined with his previous charges, was enough to get him not only expelled, but arrested. I never saw him again, which is probably a good thing because I'm still mad and would probably try to kill him if given the opportunity. Personally, I don't think what OP did here was enough of revenge against a jerk that treats people that way, all the stuff that they did, but it's definitely a darn good start. Getting them expelled and away from you and getting them locked up at least for a short term, that's a really good start to the right path for this jerk. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of both of these stories, which one was your personal favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.